Hi guys, and welcome back to Fit with T. I hope you guys are good. Now, this is another video in my Sprint and ABC series, and today K is for speed killers. So in the video today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys 4 different things that are hindering your speed. Okay, so if you're doing these 4 things, stop it now, because it's actually making you slower. So speed killer number 1 is overstriding. So when it comes to sprinting and it comes to running fast, you want to think about cadence, so how fast you're turning your leg, and also stride length. However, there's still an optimal when it comes to stride length, right? So if you're overstriding and your foot is landing in front of your center of mass and you're spending long time on the ground, you're actually gonna run slower than you would want to. Okay, so yes, if you have a very small stride length and you're not covering much ground, of course you want to try to grow that stride length, but you want to be able to do that. You want to increase your stride length but without sacrificing your turnover. Okay, so if you get to a place where actually your turnover is slowing down, and like I said, you're spending longer on the ground, your foot's landing in front of you and you're actually braking, this is going to hinder your speed as opposed to help it. Okay, so in your training, when you're doing, like if you're doing cone runs, using wicket, whatever tools you're using to try and increase your speed, you want to make sure that you're not overstriding and actually putting the brakes on. Okay, so speed killer number 1 is overstriding. Another thing that can be hindering your speed is actually leaning too far forward. Okay, so this applies to both the dry phase and when you're in your max velocity running. Okay, so if you haven't watched this video, I spoke about how when I started this sport, I used to lean so far forward, right? And actually that's one of the things that I changed to become an English schools champion. So in the dry phase, we want to have a nice straight line through our body when we drive out of the block or the crouch start. Yes, we want to have a forward lean in the dry phase. However, if you're leaning too far forward, what's going to happen is you're going to be bending at your hips, and that's going to cut your knee height, it's going to cut your stride length and going to cause us to not cover as much ground as we want to, and that's going to slow you down. In the max velocity part of the race, when you're trying to be at your top speed, if you're leaning too far forward there as well, it's the same principle. You're not going to be able to maintain that nice fluid stride length, you're not going to be able to maintain your rhythm as well, and you're going to be more in a falling over position. So your torso, you want to look at your torso, you know, and in terms of fitness wise, you want to actually increase your core strength, so both your back and your abs as well, right? You want to be able to maintain a good posture in your upright running. A nice upright position, we're not leaning back and we're not leaning too far forward, we're just nice and upright, still with an intent to go forward, but we're nice and upright, which gives our knees room and our legs room to create the right technique. Okay, so speed killer number 2 is leaning too far forward. Now the third thing that I'm going to mention that is actually killing your speed, and this applies a lot of times to newer athletes, younger athletes, and if it's your sports day, this is definitely what you don't want to be doing. Okay, and that is looking around. Whether you're looking around to see where you are in the race, looking around to showboat, looking around is going to slow you down. Okay, when you're sprinting, you have one intent, and that's to get to the finish line first, right? You want to be going forward and you want all your energy and your focus to be going forward. If you're looking around, that's going to slow you down. And if you haven't checked out this video, make sure you check it out, because I talk about your head, your chin position, and how that's really important and how that can affect your sprinting. So if you're someone who is looking around when you're sprinting, if you're someone who is trying to see where you are in a race, you have peripheral vision. Okay, so even when we look forward, we can still see at the side of us. So even here I can see my hands at the side of me without actually looking at my hands. I don't have to look at my hands to see they're there. Use your peripheral vision. You don't have to turn your head and slow yourself down. If you turn your head, your torso has to turn with you. If you turn your head, your shoulders have to turn with you, and you are now wasting your energy in directions that you're not trying to go. So we're trying to go forward, to keep all your energy and all your focus going forward, right? And that's going to help you to keep running fast. So if you're looking around, that's going to slow you down. So speed killer number 3 is looking around, so stop that because it's slowing you down. Okay, and so the last speed killer that I'm going to mention in this video is exaggerating your knee lift. Okay, so I know guys, when you see elite sprinters, top sprinters in the world, top sprinters in your country, you see that their knee lift is quite high, right? But what you have to remember is that everyone's body is unique, individual, has their own unique proportions, and so you want to have a knee lift that is optimal for you, as opposed to trying to exaggerate the knee lift. So expecting every single sprinter, for example, to necessarily have their knee at exactly 90 or above 90 may actually be slowing you down, may actually be slowing your athlete down. And so when you exaggerate the knee lift, it's likely that you're going to have to spend longer on the ground in order to achieve that. Okay, the whole reason that we emphasize a higher knee lift or front side mechanics is for the purpose that if you have a higher knee, then you potentially have a longer lever, you'll have a higher distance from which to drive down from and produce more force. But if you're exaggerating the knee lift, then even though, yes, you have a higher position from which to produce force, you're most likely, the foot that's still on the ground is most likely staying on the ground in order for you to exaggerate that movement, if that makes sense, okay? And so you don't want to exaggerate the knee lift. You do want to have a higher knee lift than, of course, having backside mechanics or a low knee lift. And if you don't know what I'm talking about by front side or backside mechanics, then check out this video. But exaggerating the knee lift can actually slow you down, because you're going to be thinking about driving the knee up, and therefore the leg lift on the ground is going to be spending longer on that ground. It could mean that you're trying to lean back in order to achieve that, and all these different factors, okay? And so yes, you want to have a high knee lift. That's going to mean that you're going to have to strengthen your hip flexors. If you haven't checked out this video, then check that video out as well, where I give you some examples of how you can strengthen your hip flexors. You don't want to have a low knee lift, but you don't want to exaggerate your knee lift. So the 4 speed killers that I mentioned in this video are overstriding, leaning too far forward, looking around, and then exaggerating your knee lift. So guys, let me know in the comment section below, have you been making any of these mistakes without realizing? Hopefully now though that you know they're slowing you down as opposed to making you faster, you're going to stop doing them and hopefully begin to do the correct thing. And that's the purpose of this Sprint and ABC series in the first place, to help you guys get some idea as to some of the things that can really impact your sprinting, help you, hinder you, etc, etc. But if you like the video guys, please give it a big thumbs up to help me accelerate my channel, to let the algorithm know, and so that more athletes like you can see this video. And if you haven't checked out this video where I talk about some other errors that newbies tend to make, then make sure to check that video out as well. And if you haven't checked out this video where I talk about how your head position, your chin position can actually really impact your speed, your sprinting, then check that video out as well. And I'll see you guys on another Friday. Bye guys.